Opening an ordinary box, the millionaire never expected to find a kidnapped young woman, and this unexpected encounter changed the course of their lives forever. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment. We publish videos like this every day, and continue. The warm March wind blew through the open windows of the small apartment in Lincoln Park, Chicago, carrying with it the constant noise of traffic and the voices of street vendors. Emily Parker sat on the edge of her twin bed, staring intently at the laptop screen on her legs. Another rejection. The 23rd in 2 months. We appreciate your interest in our company. However, we regret to inform you that your application has not been selected for the next stage of the hiring process. The words seemed to dance on the screen, mocking her. Emily closed the laptop with more force than intended and sighed deeply. At 25, with a business administration degree from Northwestern University with academic distinction, she had expected the job market to be more receptive. Reality, however, was proving quite different. From the next room came the sound of a loud television, always tuned to some talk show. Her mother, Maggie, worked overnight cleaning offices downtown and slept during the afternoons. It was a routine they had known well for years. Emily got up and walked to the small living room, where she found her mother awake, shuffling through some papers on the plastic table that served as an improvised desk. "Another rejection?" asked Maggie, without raising her eyes from the documents. At 48, she had calloused hands and prematurely grey hair, but her eyes still shone with a determination that Emily both admired and feared at the same time. "Another one," confirmed Emily, sitting in the plastic chair next to her mother. "Mom, I'm thinking of trying something different. There's a company, Mitchell Industries, that has an open selection process for trainees. It's one of the largest in the country." Maggie finally raised her gaze, and Emily saw that familiar expression of concern mixed with suspicion. "Big company, Emily. Big company means powerful man. And powerful man." She made a significant pause. "Powerful man always wants something in return." "Mom, it's not like that. Not anymore. Things have changed." "Things never change for people like us, daughter." Maggie looked back at the papers. "But you're smart. If that's what you want to try, try it. Just promise me one thing." Emily waited. "Promise me you won't get involved. Emotionally, I mean. With the boss, with colleagues, with nobody from that world. You'll go in, you'll work, you'll learn, and you'll keep your heart far away from all of it. Promise?" Emily hesitated. Since childhood she had heard stories about her mother's past, fragments of a previous life that Maggie rarely shared completely. She knew there was pain there, betrayal, abandonment. She knew that her mother had built very high walls around her heart and had tried to teach her daughter to do the same. "I promise, Mom." 3 weeks later, Emily stood in front of the tiny bathroom mirror, adjusting for the third time the black blazer she had bought second-hand at a store in the garment district. It was the day of the final interview at Mitchell Industries. She had passed through 2 stages of the selection process with high marks, impressing recruiters with her theoretical knowledge and her poise in group dynamics. Today would be her last chance. The company building was in the Gold Coast, a Chicago neighborhood that seemed to belong to another planet compared to the apartment where Emily lived. Glass skyscrapers touched the sky, imported cars slid silently down wide avenues, and impeccably dressed people walked with purpose and haste. Emily felt like an intruder in that world, but she took a deep breath and entered the imposing lobby of the building. The reception area was all white marble and dark wood. Enormous plants decorated the corners, and an artificial fountain murmured softly in the center of the space. Emily announced herself to the receptionist, a middle-aged woman with a professional and polite smile. "Emily Parker for an interview with the Human Resources team," she said, trying to sound confident. The receptionist checked her computer and slightly furrowed her brow. "Wait a moment, please." She made a quick call, spoke a few words too softly for Emily to decipher, and hung up. "You may go up to the 30th floor. Someone will meet you at the elevator." Emily thanked her and headed toward the elevators, noticing that her medium-heeled shoes made a sound that was too loud against the marble floor. On the 30th floor, the doors opened to reveal a hallway even more luxurious than the reception. A tall woman, with perfectly styled blonde hair and a navy blue suit, was waiting for her. "Emily Parker?" asked the woman, extending her hand. "I'm Victoria Adams, Human Resources Manager. Welcome." Asterisk. The handshake was firm, but Emily sensed something cold in Victoria's gaze. They walked down the corridor, passing glass rooms where executives were engaged in meetings. Everything there breathed power and money. Emily tried not to let herself be intimidated, but she felt small in that environment. "Before we begin the interview," said Victoria as they walked, "I need to inform you that there has been a small change in the process. Mr. Mitchell would like to meet you personally." Emily stopped walking. "The president of the company?" "That's right, it's unusual, I admit, but he insisted on participating in this selection." Victoria smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "I hope you don't mind." Of course she minded. Emily felt her heart accelerate, but she nodded. They stopped in front of a mahogany door with a discreet sign, "President, Ryan Mitchell." Victoria knocked lightly, and a deep voice from the other side said, "Come in." The office was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Chicago. A huge dark wood desk dominated the center of the room, surrounded by shelves filled with books and awards. But what most caught Emily's attention was the man behind the desk, Ryan. Mitchell must have been about 35, with brown hair slightly graying at the temples and intense green eyes. He wore an impeccable gray suit, and there was a natural elegance to his movements. When he stood to greet her, Emily noticed that he was tall and broad-shouldered. There was something magnetic about him, a presence that effortlessly dominated the room. "Miss Parker," he said, extending his hand, "it's a pleasure to meet you." When their hands touched, Emily felt a strange familiarity, as if she had seen those green eyes before. Ryan also seemed to hesitate for a moment, looking at her with an intensity that made her blush slightly. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Mitchell," she managed to respond, trying to keep her voice steady. "Please have a seat." Ryan indicated a chair in front of his desk. Victoria remained standing, a little behind Emily's chair. "I've read your resume and I'm impressed. Excellent academic background, relevant internships, impeccable recommendation letters. Tell me a little about yourself." Emily took a deep breath and began talking about her trajectory, her professional goals, her motivations for working at the company. As she spoke, she noticed that Ryan was watching her attentively, not just listening to her words, but studying her gestures, her expressions. There was something disturbing about that gaze, as if he were looking for something specific. "And your family?" he asked suddenly. "Tell me about them." The question caught Emily by surprise. "My family? Well, I'm an only child. My mother works as a cleaning service provider. It's just the two of us." "Your mother raised you alone then?" "Yes, sir." Ryan made a note on a pad and then looked directly at her again. "Do you have any scars? Any distinguishing marks?" Emily blinked, confused. "Excuse me?" "Anything at all? A childhood scar? A birthmark? It's a routine question for our security files," he explained, but Victoria slightly frowned, as if this weren't really a standard question. Emily hesitated, then discreetly rolled up the left sleeve of her blazer, revealing a scar about 4 inches long on her forearm. "I have this one. It was an accident a few years ago." Ryan's eyes fixed on the scar, and Emily swears she saw something change in his expression. He was very quiet for a moment, and the silence in the room became almost palpable. "How did it happen?" he asked with a softer voice. "A car accident. I was driving down a road and saw an overturned vehicle. I tried to help the driver, and I got hurt in the wreckage." Emily lowered her sleeve again. "Why these questions, Mr. Mitchell?" Ryan studied her for a few more seconds, then smiled, a genuine smile that completely transformed his face. "Personal curiosity. I admire people who risk themselves to help others." He stood up. "Victoria, could you give us a few minutes?" Victoria hesitated. "Sir, We have the board meeting at 3. A few minutes, repeated Ryan, with a tone that admitted no discussion. Victoria left, closing the door behind her, but Emily noticed that she seemed displeased. They were left alone in the immense room, and Ryan walked to the window, standing with his back to Emily. 5 years ago, he said, still looking at the city below, I was driving back from a meeting in Milwaukee. It was late, it was raining, and the road was slippery. I lost control of the car on a curve of a secondary road. Emily felt her heart race. The car flipped over. It was upside down, and there was a fuel leak. I was injured, dizzy, unable to move. I thought I was going to die there. Ryan turned to face her. Until a young woman appeared. She didn't think twice about crawling into the destroyed car to help me. She pulled me out seconds before the car caught fire. Emily was speechless. The memory came back with full force. The rain, the sound of twisted metal, the smell of gasoline, the injured man she helped get out of the car. She had fractured her arm when she cut herself on the shattered glass, but she managed to get him out in time. When I woke up in the hospital, continued Ryan, she was already gone. The paramedics said that a young woman had helped me but got hurt in the process. Since then, I've been looking for her. I want to thank her. I want to know that she's okay. He paused. I want to find her. Why? Emily managed to whisper. Because she saved my life, and because since that night I can't stop thinking about her. Silence stretched between them. Emily knew she should say something, reveal that it was her, but something stopped her. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the promise she had made to her mother. Maybe it was the fact that this man was completely out of reach for someone like her. She began, but Ryan raised his hand. You don't need to say anything. I know. It might seem strange, but when I saw you today, I felt something familiar. Your scar, the way you move, even your voice, everything reminded me of her. He returned to behind his desk. But regardless of anything, you passed our selection. I'd like to offer you a position at our company. Emily blinked, surprised. But I thought that you hadn't passed the interview. On the contrary, you've demonstrated exactly what we're looking for: intelligence, determination, and courage. Ryan smiled again. Welcome to Mitchell Industries. Emily Parker, *. 2 weeks later, Emily was back at the Gold Coast building, this time as an employee. She wore a navy blue suit that she had purchased with her salary advance and carried a new folder. It was her first day of work, and she was nervous and excited at the same time. Victoria greeted her at the reception of the 30th floor. Ready to start? She asked with the same cold smile as always. I'll introduce you to the team and show you your office. They walked down the corridor, and Victoria introduced Emily to her colleagues. Everyone was cordial, but Emily noticed curious glances, discreet whispers. She knew that her hiring had been unusual. Coming directly from an interview with the president to a junior manager position was not normal protocol. And here, said Victoria, stopping in front of a small but well-located office, is your office. Emily entered and was surprised. The room had an excellent view of the city, quality furniture and even some decorative plants. It was much better than she had expected for a beginning employee. Is it really mine? She asked, touching the wooden desk. President's orders, replied Victoria, and there was something in her tone that Emily couldn't identify. He was very specific about your accommodations. At that moment, a woman entered the room. She was beautiful, with long, wavy brown hair, dark eyes, and a dazzling smile. She wore a light pink dress that highlighted her elegant silhouette and high heels that made her look even more confident. You must be the new employee, she said, extending her hand with a smile that seemed sincere. I'm Sophia Mitchell, Ryan's cousin. I work in the marketing department. Emily shook her hand. Emily Parker, it's a pleasure. The pleasure is mine. I hope you feel at home here. Family is always welcome. Sophia winked. If you need anything at all, just let me know. After Sophia left, Victoria lingered a little longer. "A tip," she said, lowering her voice. "In this company, nothing happens by chance. If you're here, it's because the president has his reasons. I suggest you find out what those reasons are before it's too late." Emily was left alone in her new office, trying to process everything that had happened. The room was quiet, but through the glass door, she could see the constant movement in the corridor. Executives passed by in a hurry. Assistants carried piles of documents, phones rang constantly. It was a new world, intimidating and seductive at the same time. She opened her folder and began organizing her work materials, but her mind kept going back to the conversation with Ryan. He was looking for the woman who saved him. She was that woman. But for some reason she couldn't reveal herself, perhaps because she sensed that her life would change completely when that happened, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for those changes. The first day passed quickly. Emily was introduced to the projects she would be working on, met her team and participated in some meetings. She demonstrated competence and initiative, impressing colleagues with her ideas and analytical ability. But the whole time she felt observed. It wasn't paranoia. Several times when she looked up, she found someone looking in her direction. Sometimes it was Victoria, passing casually by the corridor. Other times it was Sophia, who appeared frequently to check how she was, adapting. And occasionally, through the glass wall of a distant meeting room, she saw Ryan observing the movement on the floor. At the end of the day, Emily was putting away her materials when she heard a soft knock on the door. It was Ryan. He came in without waiting for a response, closing the door behind him. "How was your first day?" he asked, sitting in the chair in front of her desk. "Very good, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you for the opportunity." "Ryan, you can call me Ryan," he smiled. "And you? How are you feeling here?" Emily hesitated. "A little observed, to be honest." Ryan chuckled softly. "It's normal. A new employee always arouses curiosity, especially when hired in a non-conventional way." Why did you hire me?" Emily risked asking. "Really?" Ryan was quiet for a moment, studying her face. "Because I recognize value when I see it. And because—" he paused, "because I feel that you have more to offer than you imagine." There was something in the way he looked at her that made Emily feel both exposed and protected at the same time. It was disturbing and comforting, dangerous and safe. She remembered the promise she had made to her mother and tried to erect her emotional defenses. "I need to go," she said, getting up. "My mother is expecting me for dinner." Ryan got up too. "Of course. Emily." She stopped at the door. "Yes?" "If anyone bothers you here, any person at all, I want you to tell me. Okay?" Emily nodded and left, feeling his gaze on her back as she walked down the corridor. In the elevator, she found Sophia, who seemed to be waiting for her. "So, how was your first day working with my cousin?" asked Sophia with a conspiratorial smile. "I work for the company, not specifically for him," Emily politely corrected. Sophia laughed. "Oh dear, here everyone works for Ryan. He's the type of man who inspires devotion." Her words had a strange weight, especially in women. The elevator reached the ground floor, and Sophia exited first. "See you tomorrow, Emily. And remember, if you need to talk about anything at all, I'm here to help." Emily left the building and walked to the bus stop, her mind buzzing. It was only the first day, but she already felt that she had entered a game whose rules she didn't completely understand. Ryan intrigued and attracted her in a way that frightened her. The promise made to her mother echoed in her mind, but it was hard to ignore the connection she felt with him. On the crowded bus back home, Emily looked out the window as Chicago paraded outside. Skyscrapers gave way to smaller buildings, which in turn yielded space to simple houses and neighborhood businesses. It was like traveling between two worlds, and she was beginning to realize that she might not be able to live comfortably in either of them. When she arrived home, she found Maggie in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The smell of beans and rice reminded her of who she was and where she came from. "How was it?" asked her mother without turning from the stove. "Good. Better than I expected." "And the boss? This president?" Emily hesitated. "He seems fair." Maggie turned, drying her hands on her apron. "Emily, you're hiding something from me." It wasn't a question. Maggie knew her daughter too well to be fooled. Emily sighed. Han told her about the interview about Ryan, about the strange feeling of familiarity, but she omitted the part about the accident. She wasn't ready to explain that connection yet. "He hired you on the spot?" Maggie frowned. "Powerful men don't do favors for free, Emily. What does he want from you?" "Maybe he really thinks I have potential." "Maybe," Maggie returned to the stove. "Or maybe he wants something else. Promise you'll be careful." "I promise, Mom." But as they dined in silence, Emily knew it was already too late to be careful. Something had begun in that elegant office, something that went far beyond a simple professional relationship. And the scariest part was that, despite all her mother's warnings and her own fears, a part of her wanted to discover where it would lead. The next morning, Emily arrived at work determined to maintain professional distance from Ryan. She had spent the night thinking and concluded that the best thing was to focus on work, prove her worth professionally, and avoid any complicated personal situations. Her plans lasted exactly until 10 in the morning, when Victoria appeared in her office with a serious expression. "The president wants to see you. Now." Emily followed Victoria down the corridor, noticing that some colleagues looked on curiously. When they reached Ryan's office, he was on the phone, gesturing while speaking in English, with someone apparently from the other side of the world. He indicated that she should sit down and continued the conversation for a few more minutes. When he hung up, he smiled at Emily. "Sorry, crisis with our London office." He stood up and walked to a side table where there was a coffee maker. "Coffee?" "Please." Ryan served 2 cups and handed one to her. Emily noticed that he took his coffee black, like her. "Emily, I need you to do me a favor. We have an important client arriving from Boston tomorrow for a crucial meeting. Normally Victoria would handle the details, but she's overloaded with the merger project. Could you coordinate the reception?" It was an opportunity. Emily nodded immediately. "Of course, what needs to be done?" Ryan explained the details. 5-star hotel, airport transfer, dinner at a specific restaurant, a presentation prepared for the next day. It was a big responsibility for someone on their second day of work, but Emily felt confident. "Thank you for your trust," she said, standing up to leave. "Emily," Ryan called her when she was already at the door, "you will also attend the dinner. I need someone who can support me in the presentation." There was something in the way he said "support me" that made Emily feel a flutter in her stomach. She nodded and left, but not before seeing Victoria standing outside the room, clearly trying to listen to the conversation. The rest of the day flew by. Emily coordinated all the details efficiently, impressing even Victoria with her organization. When she was finalizing the last preparations, Sophia appeared again. "I heard you're having dinner with Ryan tomorrow," she commented, sitting in the chair in front of Emily's desk. "It's work, an important client." "Of course it is," Sophia smiled. "You know, Emily, I can give you a tip. Ryan is a complicated man. He has a history, some wounds that haven't healed yet. Sometimes he gets attached to people or situations in an intense way." Emily stopped typing and looked at Sophia. "What do you mean?" "Just that he can confuse gratitude with other feelings, and that can be dangerous for both of you." Sophia stood up. "Anyway, I just wanted to warn you, woman helping woman, you know." After Sophia left, Emily sat thinking about her words. There was something between the lines that she wasn't capturing, but she decided not to worry. She had work to do. The following evening, Emily dressed carefully for dinner. She chose a simple but elegant black dress that she had bought on sale and low-heeled shoes. When she arrived at the restaurant, a sophisticated place in the upscale neighborhood, she found Ryan already waiting with the client, a middle-aged man who ran one of the largest retail chains in the Northeast. The evening was a success. Emily demonstrated knowledge, asked intelligent questions, and helped Ryan conduct the negotiations naturally. The client was impressed, and when they said goodbye, the deal was practically closed. "You were incredible," said Ryan as they walked to the car. "Thank you. It was my pleasure. I like challenges." Ryan stopped and turned to her. The parking lot was dimly lit, but she could see his green eyes shining in the half-light. "Emily, may I ask something?" "Of course." "Do you remember anything about that night, from the accident you mentioned?" Emily's heart raced. Somehow he knew it was her. "Why do you ask?" "Because I need to know. I need to be sure." Ryan took a step closer. "The woman who saved me. She had a specific perfume, something floral, soft. You wear the same perfume." Emily was speechless. It was true. She had been wearing the same perfume for years, a gift from her mother on her 18th birthday. "Ryan, You don't need to say anything right now," he interrupted. "But if you are the person who saved my life, I need you to know that you changed everything for me. Since that night, I've lived with the feeling that I owe something to someone, that there is a person in the world who deserves all my gratitude, all my respect, he hesitated, all my devotion." The word devotion echoed in the air between them. Emily felt as if she were standing on the edge of a precipice, and part of her wanted to jump, while another screamed to back away. "I need to go home," she said. Finally, Ryan nodded and accompanied her to her car. During the entire journey, they remained silent, but it was a silence charged with tension and unspoken possibilities. When Emily arrived home, she found her mother awake in the living room, waiting for her. "How was the dinner?" asked Maggie. Emily told her about the work, about the success of the meeting, but she omitted the conversation in the parking lot. Maggie, however, knew her too well. "Emily, you're getting involved with this man." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Emily sighed and sat down next to her mother on the old sofa. "Mum, it's complicated." "It's not complicated. It's dangerous." Maggie took her daughter's hands. "Men like him don't get involved with women like us to form a family, Emily. They get involved to have fun, to have a distraction, and then they go back to their world, leaving us with a broken heart and a stained reputation." "Maybe he's different." "They're never different." Maggie's voice was harsh, but Emily saw pain in her mother's eyes. "Promise me something. If things start to get serious, you come and talk to me before doing anything foolish. Promise?" Emily nodded, but she knew she was already beyond the point of no return. Ryan had awakened something in her that she didn't know existed, and fighting against it was becoming harder with each day. At the company, the weeks that followed brought a new routine. Emily stood out in her projects, gained the trust of clients and colleagues, but also noticed that her proximity to Ryan didn't go unnoticed. Victoria had become colder, Sophia more present, and there were whispers in the corridors that she tried to ignore. Ryan, for his part, found ways to be near her. Extra meetings, special projects, casual conversations that extended beyond what was necessary. He never crossed the line of professional impropriety, but there was a constant tension between them, a mutual attraction that was impossible to ignore. Emily was beginning to understand that her life had changed completely the moment she accepted that position. And the scariest part was that, despite all the warnings and fears, she didn't want to go back. 2 months had passed since Emily began working at Mitchell Industries, and she was already certain that her life would never be the same. Not just because of the work itself, which challenged her daily and made her grow professionally in ways she had never imagined possible, but mainly because of the constant tension she felt whenever Ryan was around. And he was around with a frequency that couldn't be coincidental. It was a rainy Thursday in May, when Emily realized that things had definitely changed between them. She was working late, as had become her custom, when she heard footsteps in the corridor. Most employees had already gone home and only the emergency lights illuminated the floor. When she looked up from her computer screen, Ryan was standing in the doorway of her office. "Still here?" he asked, entering and closing the door behind him. There was something different about his posture, less formal, more relaxed. He had taken off his jacket and loosened his tie, and Emily noticed for the first time how much younger he looked like this, less the intimidating CEO, and more just a man. "Finishing the report for the Boston client," she replied, saving the document. "I want to deliver everything perfect first thing tomorrow morning." Ryan approached her desk, and Emily felt the familiar tightness in her chest that always accompanied his proximity. He smelled of discreet and expensive cologne, masculine and comforting at the same time. "Emily, may I ask a personal question?" She hesitated, but nodded. "Why do you never talk about your personal life? In 2 months working here, you've never mentioned a boyfriend, friends, weekend plans. It's as if you only existed within this building." The observation caught her off guard. It was true. She had become obsessed with work, using it as an excuse not to face the confusing feelings Ryan awakened in her. "I prefer to keep things separate, personal life and professional life." Ryan sat in the chair across from her, coming closer. "And what if I said I'd like to get to know the Emily that exists outside this office?" Her heart raced. "Ryan, have dinner with me. Not for work, not for a business meeting, just because I want your company." Emily knew she should say no. All the voices in her head, her mother's, reasons, self-preservations, screamed for her to refuse. But when she looked into Ryan's green eyes, she saw something that made her hesitate: vulnerability, hope, and something deeper that she didn't dare to name. "I can't," she said finally, hating the disappointment she saw pass over his face as why not? Because she searched for words that wouldn't sound like total rejection. "Because people already talk too much about us. Victoria looks at me as if I had stolen something from her. Colleagues whisper when I walk down the corridors. If we're seen having dinner together. And do you care what they think?" "I care about my reputation, and yours too." Ryan was quiet for a moment, studying her face. "Emily, there's something you're not telling me. I've felt it since the first day. It's as if you were hiding an important part of who you are." Emily looked away. How could she explain that she knew every detail of that accident 5 years ago, that she still sometimes dreamed of the sound of twisted metal and the smell of gasoline, that she kept the scar on her arm as a permanent reminder of that night that changed, apparently, both of their lives? "Everyone has their secrets," she said finally. "I don't." Ryan leaned forward. "I haven't had any more secrets since you arrived here. Everything in me has become transparent. My feelings, my intentions, my need to be close to you. The only thing I can't figure out is why you fight so hard against this." The sincerity in his voice almost broke Emily's defenses. She was about to respond when she heard the sound of high heels in the corridor. Quickly, Ryan moved away, returning to the formal side of the desk, and Emily concentrated on her computer screen again. Sophia appeared in the doorway, beautiful as always in a red dress that highlighted her curves. She smiled when she saw Ryan there, but Emily didn't miss the flash of irritation that passed through her eyes. "Ryan, darling, I was looking for you. I need to talk to you about—" "Oh, hi, Emily." Her tone changed completely when addressing Emily, becoming politely cold. "Working late again?" "Finishing some reports," replied Emily, keeping her voice neutral. "What admirable dedication." Sophia approached Ryan. "Ryan, we need to talk about that matter we discussed yesterday. It's urgent." Ryan hesitated, clearly displeased with the interruption, but nodded. "Of course, Emily, finish what you're doing and go home. It's very late." After they left, Emily was alone in her office, trying to process what had happened. Ryan had practically confessed that he had feelings for her, and she had rejected his advance, albeit gently. But what bothered her most was the ease with which Sophia had taken him away, as if she had some sort of power over him. In the elevator, going down to the parking garage, Emily met Victoria, who was also leaving late. "Long day?" commented Victoria, but there was something studious in her tone. "Quite. And you?" "Always." Victoria was quiet for a moment, then said, "Emily, may I give you some advice? Woman to woman?" Emily nodded, although she knew she probably wouldn't like what she would. "Here, Ryan is a good boss, a good man, but he has vulnerabilities. 5 years ago he went through something traumatic, an accident that marked him deeply. Since then, he develops fixations on people or situations that he believes are connected to that event." Emily's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "I mean that he might be projecting onto you something that doesn't exist, and that can be dangerous, both for him and for you." Victoria looked at her directly. "I know he shows special interest in you, we all know, but you need to understand that it might just be a mental confusion on his part, not something real." The elevator reached the parking garage and Victoria exited first. "Think about what I said, Emily. Sometimes protecting someone means keeping your distance." Emily was left alone in the elevator for a few more seconds, processing Victoria's words. There was truth there, but there was also something else, as if Victoria were trying to plant seeds of doubt in her mind. At home, she found Maggie in the kitchen preparing dinner. Her mother looked at her with that familiar expression that meant she had noticed something. "Something happened at work today," said Maggie. "It wasn't a question. Emily sighed and sat at the kitchen table. "Ryan, he invited me to dinner." "Ah." Maggie stopped stirring the pot. "And you said?" "I said no." "Good." "Mom, why are you so afraid of me getting involved with someone? It can't just be because of what happened to you in the past." Maggie turned, leaning against the counter. For a moment she looked older than her 48 years. "Emily, you don't know everything. About me, about your father, about why we raised you alone." Emily felt her heart race. Maggie rarely talked about Emily's father, only saying that it had not worked out. "Then tell me." Maggie hesitated, then sat at the table across from her daughter. "Your father is a powerful man. Rich, influential, respected. When we met, I was 19 and worked as a secretary in one of his companies. He was married, but he told me that the marriage was just for appearances, that he would separate to be with me." Emily listened in silence, feeling that she would finally understand where all her mother's fears came from. "For 2 years, I believed him. I believed the promises, the plans we made together. When I got pregnant with you, I thought it would be the push he needed to leave his wife, but do you know what he did?" Emily waited. "He offered me money for an abortion. When I refused, he fired me, spread rumors about me so that no company would hire me, and even tried to prove in court that you weren't his daughter." Maggie's hands trembled slightly. "I had to start from scratch, pregnant, without a job, without family, because my parents kicked me out of the house when they found out about the pregnancy." Emily felt a deep pain in her chest. "Mom, I didn't know. I didn't want you to know. I wanted you to grow up strong, independent, without carrying the weight of my history. But now I see that you're following the same path I followed. Falling, in love with an unreachable man, believing it can be different. Ryan isn't married, and he's never promised me anything." "Not yet." Maggie took her daughter's hands. "Emily, men like him don't marry women like us. They play with us until they get bored, and then they go back to their world. I couldn't stand to see you go through what I went through." Emily hugged her mother, feeling the weight of all that pain kept for so many years. Now she understood where all the fears, all the warnings came from. And a part of her knew that Maggie was right. There was a social abyss between her and Ryan that might be impossible to bridge. The next day, Emily arrived at work determined to keep her distance from Ryan. She focused on her projects, avoided unnecessary meetings, and went out for lunch outside the building to avoid the risk of running into him in the executive restaurant. Her strategy worked until the end of the afternoon, when she received an internal phone call. "Emily? It's Ryan. Can you come to my office? We have a delicate situation with the Miami client, *. She couldn't refuse. It was work. She went up to the top floor and found Ryan visibly stressed, speaking on the phone with someone who was clearly very irritated on the other end of the line. "I understand your concern, Mr. Rodriguez, but I guarantee we'll resolve this within the next 24 hours, Ryan was saying, signaling for Emily to sit down. "Yes, sir, I understand. Until tomorrow." When. He hung up. He ran his hands through his hair. "Disaster. Our main supplier in Miami had a production problem, and the client's delivery deadline has been compromised. We need to go there to resolve it personally." "We?" "You and I. The flight leaves at 7 in the morning. Ryan looked at her directly. "I know you don't want to mix personal and professional life, but we need to work together on this. It's too important for the company." Emily knew she couldn't refuse, but the idea of traveling alone with Ryan made her nervous. How many days? 2. Maybe 3. It depends on how quickly we can resolve the situation. She nodded. "All right, I'll prepare." "Emily?" Ryan called her when she was already leaving. "Thank you. I know I can count on you." The way he said that, the confidence in his voice, made something move in Emily's chest, as much as she tried. To keep her distance, there was a connection between them that seemed impossible to break. The next morning, Emily was at O'Hare Airport at 6:30, carrying a small suitcase and trying not to appear as nervous as she felt. Ryan arrived a few minutes later, and she noticed that he seemed different outside the corporate environment. More relaxed, almost as normal. During the flight to Miami, they discussed the strategy to solve the supplier's problem, but Emily noticed that Ryan frequently diverted the conversation to more personal topics. He asked about her education, her dreams, what she liked to do in her spare time. "You're a very reserved person," he commented when the plane was starting to land. "It's hard to really get to know you." "Maybe because there's not much to know," replied Emily, looking out the window as Miami approached. "I very much doubt that." The hotel where they stayed was a 5-star in Coconut Grove with a view of the ocean. Emily tried not to show how impressed she was with the luxury of the place. Persian carpets, crystal chandeliers, employees in impeccable uniforms who treated Ryan as if he were royalty. "I've reserved separate rooms, of course," said Ryan as they checked in. "Yours is on the 10th floor, mine on the 12th. Emily thanked him, relieved. At least she wouldn't have to worry about physical proximity during their stay. The first day in Miami was intense. They visited the supplier, analyzed the problem. In the production line, negotiated with the technicians and established a recovery plan. Emily was impressed with Ryan's competence in crisis situations. He was firm but respectful, technical but understanding. She saw him in action as a businessman and understood why he had built an empire. At the end of the afternoon, when they returned to the hotel, Ryan suggested they have dinner together to discuss strategies for the next day. "I know a restaurant near here that serves the best seafood in the city," he said. "It's work, but we can relax a little too." Emily knew she should refuse, but there was something in the casual way he made the invitation that made her accept. "All right, but just to discuss work." The restaurant was in South Beach, in a restored colonial mansion with a view of Biscayne Bay. The tables were on an open terrace, illuminated by yellowish lights that created a romantic atmosphere that Emily tried to ignore. Ryan ordered fish and a caipirinha, and Emily ordered the same, more to not seem complicated than out of her own desire. While they waited for the food, the conversation naturally drifted from work to more personal topics. "Have you ever been to Miami before?" asked Ryan. "I've never left Chicago, actually. This is my first plane trip." Ryan seemed surprised. "Really? And what do you think?" Emily looked around. The colonial architecture, The distant sound of live music coming from a nearby bar, the smell of the sea mixed with the aroma of the food. It's beautiful, different from anything I know. You should travel more. See? The world. With what money? The question came out more bitterly than Emily had intended. Sorry, it's just that sometimes I forget that not everyone has the same limitations that I do. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Emily, may I ask a direct question? She hesitated, but nodded. Why do you treat me as if I were your enemy? The question caught her completely off guard. I don't treat you as... Yes, you do. Since the first day you've maintained a wall between us. Not just professionally, that I would understand, but personally too, as if I were dangerous to you. Emily took a sip of her drink, buying time to think. Maybe you are. Why? She looked at him directly for the first time since they had sat down. Because you represent everything I was taught to fear. Power, money, influence. Because my mother taught me that men like you are not interested in women like me for the right reasons. Ryan leaned forward. And what would she say if she knew you saved my life 5 years ago? Emily's blood ran cold. He knew. Somehow he was certain. I don't know what you're talking about. Emily, I've been looking for you for 5 years. I hired private investigators, reviewed hospital records, interviewed all the paramedics who were on duty that night. The only thing they remembered was a young woman who got hurt pulling me out of the car but who disappeared before they could ask her name. Emily felt cornered. Ryan. When you showed that scar on your arm on the day of the interview, I knew, and every day that passes I'm more certain. The way you move, your voice, even your perfume, everything matches my memories of that night. The food arrived, but neither of them touched it. Emily felt her heart beating so hard she was sure Ryan could hear it. Why don't you tell me the truth? He insisted. Emily looked at her hands. Because it would change everything between us. It already has. Since the first day. She raised her eyes and met his. There was so much there. Gratitude, desire, confusion, hope. It was overwhelming. All right, she said finally, it was me. I saw your overturned car on the road, saw the fuel leak and couldn't leave knowing you would die there. So I crawled into the car, pulled you out, and cut myself on the shattered glass. When the paramedics arrived, I was in shock, bleeding, and just wanted to go home. So I left before they could ask questions. Ryan closed his eyes for a moment, as if absorbing the confirmation of what he already knew. Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? Because you offered me the job, even before knowing who I was. If I told you the truth, I would always wonder if I got the position on my own merit or just out of gratitude. And now I know I got it for both reasons. Emily smiled sadly. And that makes everything more complicated. Ryan reached across the table and touched her hand. The electric contact made Emily shiver. Emily, you saved my life, not just physically. Since that night, I've lived with the feeling that there's someone in the world worth knowing, someone capable of risking their own safety for a stranger. You gave me hope in humanity when I had lost faith. Ryan, please, let me finish. He gently squeezed her hand. When you appeared at my company, it was as if the universe were giving me a second chance, not just to thank you, but to get to know the extraordinary person you are. Emily felt tears forming in her eyes. You don't really know me. Then give me the chance to get to know you. Stop running away from me. Stop building walls between us. Let me show you that I can be worthy of the act of courage you had with me. The sincerity in his voice almost broke all of Emily's defenses. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine what it would be like if they surrendered to that connection, if she let the feelings flow freely. I'm afraid, she confessed. Of what? Of falling in love with you and discovering that I can't trust you. Of repeating my mother's mistakes. Of being just a temporary distraction in your life. Ryan raised her hand to his lips and placed a soft kiss on her fingers. Emily, you could never be just a distraction. You are the most important person who has ever entered my life. Asterisk. At that moment, with the warm Miami breeze carrying the sound of distant music, with Ryan's green eyes fixed on hers, Emily felt her defenses beginning to crumble. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider that maybe, just maybe, this could work. Asterisk. But then she remembered her mother's words, Victoria's warnings, the difference between their worlds, and most importantly, she remembered Sophia, always present, always looking for ways to be near Ryan. Ryan, what about Sophia? Aren't you two involved? Asterisk. Ryan furrowed his brow. Sophia? She's my cousin, Emily. Why do you ask? It's just that she always seems very close to you, and last night, when she came to your office. Ah, that, Ryan sighed. Sophia is going through some personal problems. Relationship breakup, financial issues. She's been asking me for advice, family support, nothing more. Asterisk. Emily felt a relief that she hadn't expected. I thought that. You thought I would be interested in someone else when I can barely get you out of my head, Ryan smiled. Emily, since you entered my life, I can't think of anyone else. Asterisk. The intensity of his words made Emily blush. They finished dinner in a more relaxed mood, talking about simple things, movies, books, dreams. Emily discovered that Ryan was more complex than she had imagined, with a sense of humor that surprised her and an intelligence that went far beyond business. Asterisk. When they returned to the hotel, Ryan accompanied her to her room door. Thank you for finally trusting me, he said, standing closer than would be appropriate. Ryan, Emily began, but he placed a finger gently on her lips. You don't need to say anything now, just think about what we talked about. Think about the possibility of giving a chance to what's happening between us. Asterisk. He leaned in and placed a soft kiss on her forehead, such a tender gesture that it made Emily's heart race. Then he stepped back and walked toward the elevators. Asterisk. Emily entered the room and leaned against the closed door, raising her hand to her forehead where she could still feel the warmth of his lips. For the first time, she allowed herself to admit what she had tried to deny for months. She was completely in love with Ryan Mitchell. Asterisk. The next day, they worked together with a synchronicity that was almost telepathic. The supplier's problem was resolved more quickly than they had expected, and the client was satisfied with the solutions presented. Throughout the day, Emily noticed how Ryan looked at her differently, as if he really saw her for the first time. Asterisk. On the flight back to Chicago, he asked, "May I take you to dinner when we get back? A real date this time." Asterisk. Emily hesitated for only a second before responding, "Yes." Asterisk. The smile that lit up Ryan's face was one of the most beautiful things she had ever seen. Asterisk. When they landed in Chicago, however, Emily found 17 missed calls from her mother on her cell phone. She called immediately, worried. "Emily, thank God, I need to talk to you. Urgent." "What happened, Mom?" "I can't talk on the phone. Come home now." Asterisk. Ryan noticed Emily's worried expression. "Is everything okay?" "My mother, something seems to have happened. I need to go home." "Would you like me to go with you?" Asterisk. Emily almost accepted, but remembered that Maggie still didn't know about her feelings for Ryan. "No, thank you. See you tomorrow at the office?" Asterisk. Ryan nodded, but she could see the concern in his eyes. "Call me if you need anything. Anything at all." Asterisk. At home, Emily found Maggie visibly shaken, pacing back and forth in the small living room. "What happened, Mom?" "I received a call today from someone at the company where you work, a woman." Emily's heart tightened. "What woman?" "She said her name is Sophia, that she's your boss's family." Maggie turned to face Emily. "She told me about your trip with him, about how you're getting involved, and she told me some other things you didn't tell me." Asterisk. Emily felt the world spin. "What things?" "That you were the one who saved this man in the accident 5 years ago, that he hired you because of that, that he's confusing gratitude with love, and that you're about to make the same mistake I made." Maggie approached her daughter. Is it true, Emily? Is it true that you lied to me? Asterisk Emily sat down heavily on the couch. How did Sophia know about the accident? How did she know about everything? Mom, I can explain. Can you really? Can you explain why you hid from me that you saved this man's life? Why you lied to me about your feelings for him? Why you're repeating exactly the pattern I tried to teach you to avoid? Maggie's words hurt because there was truth in them. Emily had lied, had hidden, had let herself be carried away by her feelings exactly as her mother had warned her not to do. I was afraid of how you would react. And you were right to be afraid. Maggie sat down next to her daughter. Emily, this Sophia explained to me how things work in that world. Men like your boss use women like you to have fun, but when it's time to get married, they choose someone from the same social level. She said that Ryan himself is already in a serious relationship with another woman. Emily's blood ran cold. She said what? That he's dating a high society woman for months, that you two might have something physical, but that he would never take a relationship with you seriously. Asterisk Emily felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Why would Sophia lie about this? And how did she know about the accident? Mom, I think she's lying. Why would she lie? She herself said that she's trying to protect you from getting hurt, that she's seen other women go through the same situation and doesn't want to see you suffer. Asterisk Emily ran her hands through her hair, trying to organize her thoughts. Something was very wrong. Sophia knew too much, and her good intentions seemed too calculated. Emily, said Maggie, taking her daughter's hands, promise me one thing. Promise that you'll keep your distance from him, at least until we find out the truth about this whole story. Asterisk Emily looked into her mother's worried eyes and nodded, but deep in her heart she knew it was already too late to back away. She had completely given herself to Ryan, and now she needed to find out if he really deserved her trust, or if Sophia was right about his intentions. Asterisk. One thing was certain. The next morning, she would have many questions to ask, and she hoped that Ryan would have the right answers, because her heart couldn't bear to discover that she had fallen in love with another lie. On Monday, Emily arrived at the office with her head buzzing with doubts and questions. Maggie's words echoed in her mind, but even more disturbing was the fact that Sophia knew about the accident. How was that possible? Ryan had said he'd kept it confidential, that only a few private investigators knew about the story. So how did his cousin have access to this information? Asterisk. She had barely settled in her office when Victoria appeared at the door, holding a red folder with a serious expression. Emily, I need to speak with you. It's about the Miami expansion project. Asterisk. Emily frowned. She wasn't involved in any expansion. Project to Miami. I think there must be a mistake, Victoria. I'm not working on that project. You are now. The president has decided that you will be the team leader. Victoria entered and closed the door. Emily, this is a huge opportunity, but also an immense responsibility. If something goes wrong, it will be your head on the chopping block. Asterisk Emily took the folder and opened it. It was indeed a complex project, involving millions of dollars and dozens of employees. It was the kind of responsibility that would normally be given to senior managers with years of experience. Why did the president choose me for this? That's the question everyone is asking. Victoria sat in the chair across from her desk. Emily, may I be frank with you? Asterisk Emily nodded, although she knew she rarely liked Victoria's frankness. There are rumors circulating around the company about you and the president, about the trip to Miami, about special treatment, about the nature of your relationship. Emily's blood rushed to her face. What kind of rumors? The kind that can destroy a promising career. Victoria leaned forward. Emily, you're intelligent and talented, but if people start to believe that your promotions and opportunities come from means other than competence, your reputation will be tarnished forever. Asterisk Emily felt anger growing but tried to keep her voice calm. And where do you think these rumors are coming from? I don't know, but I know that you need to be extremely careful from now on. This project could be your salvation or your ruin depending on how you handle it. Asterisk. After Victoria left, Emily was alone with the folder, trying to process what had happened. Had Ryan really assigned her to lead such an important project? And, if so, why? Was it competence or protection? And how could she prove that she deserved the opportunity without feeding the rumors even more? Her internal phone rang. "Emily, it's Ryan. Can you come to my office?" Asterisk. Her heart raced. It was the first time they had spoken since Miami, since the revelation, since that gentle kiss on the forehead that still made her shiver. Asterisk. When she arrived at his office, Ryan was standing by the window, looking at the city below. When he turned to see her, Emily noticed that there was something different in his expression, less warm, more distant. "Please sit down." Asterisk. Emily sat, trying to read his body language. Ryan remained standing, creating a physical distance that didn't exist in Miami. "About the Miami project," he began, "I know you must be surprised by the appointment." "I am. It's an enormous responsibility for someone with my experience." "You have the capacity for it, I'm sure of that." Ryan paused. "Emily, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." Asterisk. Emily waited. "About our conversation in Miami, about the accident, are you absolutely certain that it was you who saved me that night?" Asterisk. The question caught her completely off guard. "What? Of course I'm certain. Why do you ask?" Asterisk. Ryan approached her desk and leaned on the edge. "Because I've received contradictory information about that night." "What kind of information?" "Details that don't match your version, specific details about the accident that you didn't mention." Asterisk. Emily felt her heart accelerating. "Ryan, what's going on? Who said what?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that I now have doubts about something I thought I was certain of." Ryan looked at her directly. "Emily, if you lied to me about this—" "I didn't lie." Emily stood up, indignant. "Ryan, I remember every detail of that night. The rain, the sound of twisted metal, the smell of gasoline, the cut that made this scar on my arm. How can you question this?" "Because maybe I let myself be carried away by what I wanted to believe, instead of seeing the truth." Ryan sighed. "Emily, I'll be frank. Some people close to me have warned me that you might be taking advantage of my gratitude regarding that night to gain advantages in the company." Asterisk. Emily felt as if she had been slapped. "Close people? What people?" "That's beside the point." "No, it isn't." Emily approached him. "Ryan, someone is lying to you, planting doubts in your head, and I think I know who it is." "Who?" "Sophia. She called my mother over the weekend, telling stories about our trip, implying that you have another girlfriend, trying to distance me from you." Asterisk. Ryan frowned. "Sophia did that?" "She did. And now she's planting doubts about the accident too, isn't she?" Emily faced him. "Ryan, think. Why would she know details about a night that you've kept secret for 5 years?" Asterisk. Ryan was quiet for a moment, clearly processing the information. Then he shook his head. "Emily, I can't base my decisions on assumptions or jealousy. I need facts." "Then here's a fact. I saved your life 5 years ago, and you know that in your heart. If you're doubting now, it's because someone is manipulating you." Asterisk. Emily left the office before Ryan could respond, furious and hurt. How could he question something so fundamental? How could he doubt her honesty based on contradictory information from unidentified people? Asterisk. Back in her office, Emily found a bouquet of red roses on her desk. There was no card, just the expensive and fragrant flowers that were clearly not a casual gift. She looked around, searching for Sophia or Victoria, but the corridor was empty. "Beautiful." "Flowers," said a voice behind her. Asterisk. Emily turned and saw Sophia standing in the doorway, smiling. "Were they from you?" asked Emily. "Me? Of course not. But I have a suspicion who they might be from." Sophia entered and closed the door. "Emily, we need to talk." "If it's about the call you made to my mother—" "It was for your protection." Sophia sat down, crossing her legs elegantly. "Emily, you're an intelligent woman. Surely you've noticed that Ryan has obsessive tendencies." Asterisk. Emily crossed her arms. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I'm talking about the fact that my cousin has a habit of fixating on people or situations, especially when they involve trauma. I've seen this happen before. Before? Sophia sighed as if she were reluctant to share painful information. A few years ago, Ryan developed an obsession with a nurse who cared for him after the accident. He believed she was special, that there was a connection between them. He got to the point of stalking her, sending presents, trying to force a relationship that only existed in his head. Emily felt her stomach contract. That's a lie. I wish it were. The situation got so uncomfortable that the family had to intervene. The nurse had to move to another city to escape his obsession. Sophia leaned forward. Emily, I'm afraid you're his next fixation, and unlike the nurse, you're working at his company. You're vulnerable. Why should I believe you? Because I'm his family, because I've known him since childhood, and because I know that deep in your heart you also feel that something isn't right. Sophia stood up. Emily, Ryan is a good man, but he has problems. Don't let yourself be destroyed by them. After Sophia left, Emily was alone with the roses and a growing feeling of confusion. Sophia's stories seemed plausible, but something about them didn't fit. Ryan didn't seem obsessive or disturbed. He seemed genuinely interested in her, genuinely grateful for what she had done. But then why was he doubting her now? Emily spent the rest of the week immersed in the Miami project, trying to prove that she deserved the opportunity, regardless of any special protection from Ryan. She worked late every night, prepared detailed presentations, and researched every aspect of the proposed expansion. But the more she delved into the project, the more problems she found. Numbers that didn't add up, suppliers with questionable track records, unrealistic deadlines. It was as if the project had been designed to fail, and she was being placed in the position to take the blame for the failure. On Thursday, during a meeting with the finance team, Emily discovered that the budget approved for the project was 30% less than what was needed to execute it properly. There must be a mistake, she said to the finance director. It's not possible to execute everything that's in the scope with this budget. It's what was approved by the board, he replied, shrugging. You'll have to make it work. Emily knew she was being set up. Someone had created a situation where failure was inevitable, and she would be the one responsible. The question was, who had enough power in the company to manipulate a project of that size? On Friday, she decided to confront Ryan directly. She prepared a detailed presentation showing all the problems with the project and scheduled a meeting with him. When she arrived at Ryan's office, however, she found Sophia there. She was sitting in the chair that Emily usually occupied, laughing at something Ryan had said. The two of them seemed relaxed, intimate, comfortable with each other. Emily, Ryan stood up when she entered. I was just talking with Sophia about the Miami project. She has some interesting ideas. Sophia smiled at Emily, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I was telling Ryan that perhaps the project is too ambitious for a first leadership role. Maybe it would be better to start with something smaller, less risky. Emily felt anger rising. With all due respect, Sophia, you're not involved in this project. You don't know the details or the challenges. Of course not, but I know Ryan, and I know when he's putting too much pressure on someone. Sophia stood up and placed her hand on Ryan's arm, a possessive gesture that didn't go unnoticed by Emily. Sometimes it's necessary to protect people from themselves. Ryan looked between the two women, clearly uncomfortable with the tension in the air. Perhaps it's better if we discuss this privately, Emily. Sophia kissed Ryan's cheek before leaving. See you at Sunday dinner at Aunt Helen's house, don't forget. When they were alone, Ryan sat behind his desk and indicated that Emily should sit as well. About the project, began Emily, but Ryan interrupted her. Emily, before we talk about the project, I need to clarify something about our conversation. On Monday, Emily waited. I've reconsidered my words. Perhaps it was unfair to question your honesty about the accident. Perhaps, Ryan sighed. All right, I was unfair. It's just that recently someone approached me with information about that night that left me confused. Who? Ryan hesitated. Actually, it was Sophia. She said she remembers family conversations about the accident, details that you didn't mention. Emily felt her blood freeze. What details? That there were two people who helped me that night. A young woman who got hurt, but also another person who arrived later and organized the rescue. Emily blinked, processing the information. Ryan, that's not true. I was alone on that road. There was no one else. Sophia said she's sure because she was that second person. Emily's world stopped. What? She told me that she was returning from a party that night, saw my overturned car, and stopped to help. She said that you were already there, injured, and that she took care of the rescue, called the ambulance, stayed with me until I was taken to the hospital. Emily slowly rose, feeling as if she were in a nightmare. Ryan, that's a lie. Sophia wasn't there. I remember every second of that night. And there was no one else on the road besides me and you. Emily, why would she lie about this? Because she's trying to distance me from you. Emily approached his desk. Ryan, think, why in 5 years of searching did you never know about the existence of this second person? Why did your investigators never find evidence of her? Why does Sophia only appear now with this story? Ryan was quiet, but Emily could see the doubt in his eyes. The seed that Sophia had planted was growing, creating deep roots. Maybe, he said slowly, I was confused about the details. The trauma, the loss of consciousness. It's possible that my memory isn't reliable. Your memory is reliable enough for you to have recognized me after 5 years. It's reliable enough for you to remember my perfume, my voice, the way I move. Emily placed her hands on the desk, leaning toward him. Ryan, Sophia is lying, and she's making you doubt your own sanity in the process. Ryan stood up and walked to the window, turning his back to her. Emily, I don't know what to believe anymore, but I know that I need to investigate this properly before drawing any conclusions. Then investigate. But meanwhile, don't let her manipulate you. Ryan turned around. And you, Emily, aren't you trying to manipulate me too? The question hurt, more than Emily had expected. If you really believe that, then there's nothing more for us to talk about. Emily left the office with a broken heart. How had Sophia managed to turn Ryan against her so quickly, and more importantly, how could she prove the truth when there were no witnesses to that night? In the corridor, she found Victoria waiting for her. How was the meeting? Asked Victoria with fake sympathy. Wonderful, replied Emily sarcastically. Emily, may I give you another piece of advice? Sophia is a very influential woman in this family. If she's decided that you're a threat, your stay here might become complicated. Emily stopped and faced Victoria. You two are working together, aren't you? Victoria smiled coldly. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to help you understand the reality of the situation. The reality is that you two are trying to destroy me, and I still haven't figured out why. The reality, dear Emily, is that women like you don't belong in this world. The sooner you accept that, the less painful your fall will be. Emily returned to her office determined to fight. If Sophia wanted a war, she would have a war. But first, she needed to understand exactly what game was being played. She spent the weekend researching everything she could about Sophia Mitchell, social media, newspaper articles, public records. What she found was interesting. Sophia didn't effectively work at the company. She had a nominal position in the marketing department, but rarely showed up for work. She lived on a generous allowance from the family and spent most of her time at parties and traveling. She also discovered that Sophia had had several problematic relationships with rich men, always ending in financial scandals. There were patterns in her behavior. She approached influential men, gained their trust, and then manipulated them to gain financial advantages. On Monday, Emily returned to work with a plan. If Sophia was playing dirty, she could play too. But she needed to be smart about it. During the morning, she noticed that Sophia was spending even more time in Ryan's office. They had lunch together, had several private meetings, and Emily even saw them laughing together in the corridor. It was obvious that Sophia was intensifying her efforts to win Ryan over ***. At lunchtime, Emily decided to follow Sophia. She left the building and walked to a nearby cafe, where she met with Victoria. Emily hid behind a pillar and tried to listen to the conversation. "It's working perfectly," Sophia was saying. "Ryan is already doubting her completely." "And the Miami project?" asked Victoria. "It will be a disaster as we planned. When it fails, Ryan will realize that he made a mistake giving her so much responsibility. He'll question his own judgment about Emily in all aspects. And then? Then I'll comfort him. Remind him that I've always been by his side, that I'm the only person he can trust." Sophia smiled maliciously. "Ryan is a traditional man, Victoria. He wants stability, trust, someone from the same world as him. Not an opportunist from the wrong side of the tracks who takes advantage of his gratitude. And if she discovers what we're doing, who will believe her? The rookie employee against the president's cousin and the HR manager," Sophia laughed. "Besides, I have other plans to ensure that she's no longer a problem." Emily felt a chill down her spine. What other plans? She returned to the office determined to anticipate Sophia's next moves. But when she reached her office, she found 2 security guards waiting for her. "Miss Parker," said one of them, "you need to come with us. There are some accusations that need to be investigated." Emily felt her heart racing. What accusations? "Misuse of company resources. Victoria Adams wants to speak with you." Emily was escorted to Victoria's office, where she found the HR manager with a serious expression and an open folder on her desk. "Emily, sit down. We've received some concerning reports about your behavior." "What reports?" Victoria opened the folder. "Use of the corporate card for personal expenses during the trip to Miami, leaking of confidential company information, and," she made a dramatic pause, "harassment of a hierarchical superior." Emily felt the world spinning. "This is ridiculous. Who made these allegations?" "That's confidential, but we have evidence." Victoria showed some papers. "Here are the receipts from the corporate card, a dinner for 2 people that cost more than $500, clearly personal, not professional. It was a business dinner with Ryan. That lasted more than 3 hours according to the restaurant's records. And here," Victoria showed, "another paper. We have the record that you sent information about the Miami project to an external email address." Emily looked at the paper. It was indeed her personal address, but she didn't remember sending anything there. "I didn't send this." "The system logs say otherwise." Victoria leaned forward. "Emily, these are serious infractions. They would normally result in immediate dismissal, but considering that you're new to the company, I'm willing to offer an alternative." "What alternative?" "You voluntarily resign without a fuss, without lawsuits. I'll provide a neutral letter of recommendation, and we all move forward." Emily stood up, indignant. "I'm not going to resign. I didn't do anything wrong, and you know it. Then we'll have to proceed with the formal investigation, which, I must warn you, will be very uncomfortable for you, especially considering the other accusations." "What other accusations?" Victoria smiled coldly. "Sexual harassment of Ryan Mitchell. Several witnesses reported inappropriate behavior on your part toward him." Emily felt nauseated. "That's a grotesque lie." "Is it? Then how do you explain the gifts you've been receiving? The flowers on your desk, for example?" "I don't know who sent those flowers." "Of course you don't. Just as you don't know why Ryan gave you so many special opportunities, right? Just as you don't know why he took you to Miami alone." Emily realized she was being completely cornered. Every innocent gesture, every professional opportunity, every moment of proximity with Ryan was being distorted to appear sordid and calculated. "I want to talk to Ryan. He's in meetings all day, and considering the circumstances, I think it's better to avoid any contact between you until this is resolved." Emily left Victoria's office feeling as if she were in free fall. In a matter of hours, her life had completely fallen apart. Sophia had orchestrated everything perfectly. The false evidence, the witnesses, even the mysterious gifts that Emily thought came from Ryan. Asterisk. Back in her office, she found a box on her desk. Inside were her personal belongings and an official letter of temporary suspension while the investigations proceeded. Asterisk. Emily was gathering her things when she heard a knock at the door. It was Ryan. "Emily, I heard what happened. I need to talk to you." Asterisk. She turned to face him. "Then talk." "About the accusations. Some of the evidence is concerning. But I know you. I know you're not capable of—" "Do you know?" Emily interrupted him. "Because a week ago you were questioning whether I really saved your life. Now you're questioning whether I'm a criminal and a harasser. It seems you don't know me at all, Ryan." "Emily, let me help you. I can hire lawyers, investigators." "Why, out of gratitude? Because you think you owe me something." Emily closed the box forcefully. "Ryan, do you want to know the truth? I saved your life that night not because I expected something in return, but because it was the right thing to do. Any decent person would have done the same." "Emily, and now I'm leaving not because I'm guilty of anything, but because I can't fight against a system that has already decided to destroy me." Emily picked up the box and walked toward the door. "But one thing I can promise. When you discover that Sophia lied about everything, about the accident, about these accusations, about her true intentions, it will be too late." Emily left the Mitchell Industries building for the last time, carrying only a box of personal belongings and a broken heart. But as she walked through the busy streets of Chicago, a fierce determination began to grow within her. Sophia might have won this battle, but the war wasn't over yet. And Emily Parker wasn't the type of woman who gave up without a fight. At home, she found Maggie waiting for her with a worried expression. "What happened, daughter?" Emily told her everything. The accusations, the manipulation, the investigation, the suspension. Maggie listened in silence, and when Emily finished, her mother did something unexpected. "You're going to fight this." "Mom?" "This Sophia might think she knows the game, but she doesn't know you. She doesn't know where you come from, what you've already faced, what you're capable of doing when cornered." Maggie stood up. "We're going to prove your innocence and show this Ryan who truly deserves his trust." Asterisk. For the first time in days, Emily smiled. She had her mother by her side and a just cause to fight for. Sophia had underestimated one fundamental thing. Emily Parker wasn't just the girl from the wrong side of the tracks who saved a rich man. She was a strong, intelligent, and determined woman. And she wasn't going to give up without a fight. That night, as she organized evidence and planned her defense, Emily didn't know that her life was about to get even more complicated. Because in the body she carried, a new life had begun to grow. And when she discovered the pregnancy, everything would change once again. 3 weeks had passed since Emily left Mitchell Industries, and each day seemed longer than the previous one. She spent the first few days immersed in her own investigation, gathering evidence and trying to understand exactly how Sophia had orchestrated that entire setup. Maggie helped her, showing a determination that Emily hadn't seen in her mother for years. "I found something interesting," said Maggie on a Tuesday morning, entering the living room with her laptop in her hands. She had learned to use the internet with surprising speed, motivated by the need to help her daughter. "Remember you said that Sophia claimed to have been on the road that night of the accident?" Emily looked up from the documents she was organizing. "Yes, she said she saw the accident and helped with the rescue." "Well, I researched the newspapers from that time. The party that happened that night, where she was supposedly before finding the accident, was cancelled because of a storm." Maggie showed her the computer screen. "Look here, Chicago Society Gala Ball cancelled due to adverse weather conditions. The date is exact." Emily felt a wave of hope. "This means that she lied about where she was that night. If there was no party, how could she have been returning from there?" Maggie smiled with satisfaction. "We have our first concrete proof." Emily hugged her mother, feeling for the first time in weeks that perhaps they could reverse the situation. But then a wave of nausea hit her suddenly, strong and overwhelming. She ran to the bathroom, arriving just in time to throw up. Maggie followed her, concerned. "Emily, are you okay? It's the third time this week this has happened." Emily leaned on the sink, washing her face with cold water. The truth had begun to form in her mind a few days ago, but she had tried to ignore it. The morning sickness, the fatigue, the sensitivity to certain smells. "Mum," she said with a trembling voice, "I need to go to the pharmacy." Maggie looked at her with that maternal expression that meant she had already understood everything. "Oh, daughter." An hour later, Emily was sitting on the edge of the bed holding a pregnancy test with two very visible lines. Positive. She was pregnant with Ryan's child. "What am I going to do, Mom?" she asked, with tears in her eyes. "How am I going to raise a child alone? How am I going to explain all this to him?" Maggie sat beside her. "First, you're not alone. I'm here, and I always will be. Second, this child is a blessing no matter the circumstances. And third, she took her daughter's hands. This changes everything. Ryan needs to know the truth about Sophia, not just for you, but for the child you're going to have together." Emily knew her mother was right, but the idea of approaching Ryan after everything that had happened terrified her. Would he believe her? Or would he think she was using the pregnancy to manipulate him? At that moment, Emily's phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" "Emily Parker." The voice was male, formal. "This is Attorney Robert Johnson from Mitchell Industries. I need to meet with you as soon as possible. It's about your situation at the company." Emily felt her heart accelerate. "Can you speak over the phone?" "I prefer not to, but I can say in advance that new information has come to light that could completely change your situation. Can you come to my office this afternoon?" Emily accepted, curious and apprehensive. A few hours later, she was sitting in an elegant office in downtown Chicago, facing a 50-year-old man with a serious expression. "Miss Parker, I'll be direct. Ryan Mitchell hired me to independently investigate the accusations against you." Emily blinked, surprised. "Ryan did that?" "Yes. He said something didn't make sense in the evidence presented, and he wanted a professional investigation." Attorney Johnson opened a folder. "What we discovered was enlightening. Can you tell me?" "First, about the alleged misuse of the corporate card. We investigated the company's system and discovered that someone with administrative access altered the expense classification codes after it was made. The dinner was debited as personal, but was originally classified as a business dinner." Emily felt hope growing in her chest. "Second, regarding the information leak. The system logs show that the email to your personal address was sent from Victoria Adams' computer, using your credentials, but at a time when you were provably not in the building. We have the security camera images. They forged the evidence. Completely. And there's more. We hired a data recovery specialist to analyze Victoria's computer. We found a chat conversation with Sophia Mitchell where they explicitly discuss how to incriminate you." Attorney Johnson handed a folder to Emily. "Here is all the evidence. Conversations, receipts, technical analyses. Everything proves that you were the victim of an elaborate conspiracy." Emily opened the folder and read some of the printed conversations. It was all there, Sophia and Victoria planning each step of the setup, discussing how to manipulate Ryan, even mentioning the mysterious gifts they sent to make. It appeared that Emily was harassing her boss. "Why did they do this?" asked Emily, although she already knew the answer. "Apparently Sophia Mitchell has had romantic and financial interest in Ryan Mitchell for years. Your arrival at the company and the obvious attraction you awakened in him represented a threat to her plans." Emily remembered the words she had heard in the cafe. Sophia wanted Ryan, wanted his financial stability, wanted everything that a marriage to him could provide. And Victoria. Victoria Adams was apparently promised a promotion to HR director if she could get rid of you. Sophia has significant influence in the family's business decisions. Emily closed the folder, feeling a mixture of relief and anger. Attorney Johnson, what happens now? Now, Miss Parker, justice. Ryan has already been informed of everything, and the two women will be dismissed for cause. There's also the possibility of criminal charges for document falsification and defamation. Emily left the lawyer's office with a strange feeling. The truth had finally come to light, but she didn't feel the satisfaction she had expected. She was pregnant, unemployed, and the man she loved had doubted her when she needed his trust the most. When she arrived home, she found Maggie in the living room, visibly agitated. "Emily, thank God you're home. I received a strange call." "What do you mean?" "A woman called claiming to be Ryan's assistant, said that he wants to meet you tonight at the company's old office, that it's urgent and confidential." Emily frowned. Ryan knew where she lived. If he wanted to talk to her, why would he schedule a meeting in a strange location? "Mom, this doesn't make sense. Ryan wouldn't do that." "That's what I thought, but the woman insisted, said it had to do with the discoveries about your innocence." Emily felt a chill. If it hadn't been Ryan who scheduled the meeting, then who had it been? And why? "Mom, I think it's a trap." Maggie nodded. "I think so too, but if it is, maybe it's our chance to finally catch these women red-handed." Emily thought for a moment. Attorney Johnson had said that Ryan already knew the truth. If Sophia and Victoria knew that their schemes had been discovered, perhaps they were desperate enough to try something drastic. "Mom, I have an idea. But it will be dangerous." "I'm listening." Emily explained her plan. She would go to the scheduled meeting, but not alone. Maggie would hide near the building, ready to call the police if necessary. And Emily would take her cell phone recording, everything to register any confession or threat that Sophia and Victoria might make. "It's too risky," protested Maggie. "And you're pregnant." "Exactly. And this child deserves to grow up in a world where truth conquered lies." Emily took her mother's hands. "Mom, I need to do this. For myself, for the baby, and for all the others that these women might harm in the future." At 8 o'clock, Emily was standing in front of the Mitchell Industries building. Most of the lights were off, and only the night security system was functioning. She used the code that she still remembered to enter the building. Apparently, no one had bothered to cancel her access. She went up to the 30th floor, where her old office was. The corridor was dark, illuminated only by emergency lights. Emily turned on her phone's recording and placed it in her jacket pocket, taking care that the microphone remained uncovered. When she reached her old office, she found the door open. She entered cautiously and found Sophia and Victoria waiting for her. "Glad you came," said Sophia, smiling, but there was something predatory in her expression. "We thought you might not come." "What do you want?" asked Emily, staying close to the door. "We want to talk," replied Victoria, "about your definitive exit from our lives." Emily noticed that Victoria had closed the door behind her. She was trapped in the room with the two women. "If it's about the investigation, I already know that you forged the evidence," said Emily, trying to keep her voice steady. Sophia laughed. "Of course you know. Ryan hired that pompous lawyer, didn't he? Did you think we were stupid?" "Actually, we were counting on that," added Victoria. "That's why we called you here, to resolve this once and for all." "What do you mean?" Sophia approached. "Emily, you're an intelligent woman. You must understand that even with your evidence of innocence, your reputation is destroyed. No respectable company will hire you after what you've been through, and Ryan will always have doubts in the back of his mind." Emily felt anger growing. "Ryan already knows you lied about everything." "Does he really? Or does he just know that the evidence was manipulated?" Sophia smiled maliciously. "Because there's still the question of the accident, isn't there?" "What question?" "The question of who really saved Ryan that night." Emily felt her blood freeze. "You continued to lie about that." "Oh, Emily, you still don't understand?" Sophia began to circle around her. "I didn't lie about having been there that night. You were at the party that was cancelled." "What party?" Sophia laughed. "I never said which party I was attending. I said I was returning from a party, a private party, at a country house near the road where Ryan flipped his car." Asterisk Emily felt confusion mixed with fear. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I really was on that road that night, Emily. I saw you pulling Ryan out of the car. I saw you get hurt, and you know what I did? Asterisk Emily waited. Nothing. I stayed hidden, watching, waiting to see if you two would die there. Sophia's voice was cold, calculated. When I saw that you managed to get him out of the car, and that the paramedics were arriving, I decided that this could be useful in the future. You let us die. Almost. But when I realized Ryan would survive, I began to plan. I spent 5 years studying every detail of that night, your every injury, every circumstance of the accident. When you appeared in his life, I was already prepared to pass myself off as the savior. Asterisk Victoria positioned herself on the other side of Emily. And it worked perfectly, until you started questioning things. Why? Asked Emily. Why do all this? Because Ryan is worth $50 million, dear, replied Sophia. And because I've spent my entire life being the poor cousin of the rich family. I'm tired of living on allowances and favors. I want what's rightfully mine. Ryan isn't an object to be possessed. Isn't he? Then why is he so easy to manipulate, so desperate to find meaning and connection that he accepts any romantic story about destiny and gratitude? Sophia came closer. Men like Ryan are products of their insecurities, Emily, and I know exactly how to exploit them. Asterisk Emily tried to move toward the door, but Victoria blocked her path. Where do you think you're going? Asked Victoria. Away. I've heard enough. Oh, but we're not finished yet, said Sophia. You see, Emily, even with your innocence proven, there's still the problem of you knowing too much. About the accident, about our plans, about everything. Asterisk Emily felt real fear for the first time. You can't stop me from telling the truth. We can't? Let's see. Sophia signaled to Victoria, who took something from her purse. It was pepper spray. It will be very simple, explained Sophia. You had an accident. You slipped on the building. Stairs hit your head, got temporary amnesia. Very tragic and convenient. Asterisk Emily realized they really intended to hurt her. She thought of the baby she was carrying, of the innocent life that depended on her to survive. Please, she said, trying to buy time. I have something to tell you, something that changes everything. What? Asked Sophia, hesitating. I'm pregnant, with Ryan's child. Asterisk. The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia and Victoria looked at each other, processing the information. Lie, said Victoria finally. It's not a lie. I found out today. I can prove it. Asterisk Sophia approached dangerously. Even if it's true, it only makes things worse for you. Do you think Ryan will want a bastard child with a disgraced ex-employee? He will want the child, and he will want the truth. The truth is what I say it is, Sophia shouted, losing her composure for the first time. I spent 5 years planning this. I won't let an insignificant person like you destroy everything. Asterisk. She signaled to Victoria, who approached with the spray. Emily realized it was now or never. She screamed as loudly as she could and threw herself against the window, making as much noise as possible. No one will hear you, said Victoria. The building is empty. Asterisk. But Emily continued screaming, hoping the security system or some neighbor could hear, and then, miraculously, she heard voices in the corridor. Emily! Where are you? Asterisk. It was Ryan's voice. Here, she shouted. Help! Asterisk Sophia and Victoria looked at each other desperately. They had been discovered. Asterisk. The door opened violently, and Ryan entered, followed by 2 security guards. He looked at the scene. Emily cornered, Sophia and Victoria visibly hostile, the spray in Victoria's hand. What the hell is going on here? Asked Ryan. Ryan! Sophia immediately changed her posture, assuming a victim's expression. Thank God. You arrived. Emily threatened us, said she was going to sue us for defamation, attacked us when we tried to leave. Asterisk. But Emily took the phone from her pocket, still recording. It's all here, Ryan. Recorded, including her confession that she was on the road that night and left us to die. Ryan took the phone and pressed pause on the recording. Is this true, Sophia? You were there that night? Sophia hesitated, realizing she had been caught. Ryan, I can explain. Then explain. Explain how you left Emily and me to die. Explain how you planned to manipulate me for 5 years. Explain how you forged evidence to destroy the reputation of the woman who saved my life. Sophia's mask finally fell completely. Because you're mine. You should have been mine from the beginning. I'm family. I'm from your world. I have a right to all this. Right? Ryan approached her. You think you have the right to decide who lives or dies, to lie and manipulate, to destroy innocent people. Innocent? Sophia shouted, pointing at Emily. She's not innocent. She seduced you, manipulated you with this heroic rescue story. She's just another opportunist trying to take advantage of you. Enough. Ryan turned to the security guards. Call the police. I want these two arrested for document falsification, defamation, attempted assault, and anything else the lawyer can prove. Asterisk. While the security guards detained Sophia and Victoria, Ryan approached Emily. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? Asterisk. Emily shook her head, but she was trembling. Ryan, I need to tell you something. It's important. Not now. First, let's get out of here, then we'll talk. No, now, please. Emily looked directly into his eyes. I'm pregnant. The baby is yours. Ryan was completely still. What? I found out today, from our night in Miami. Emily unconsciously touched her stomach. I know it's a lot to process, especially after everything that's happened, but you needed to know. Ryan looked at her for a long moment, and Emily saw so many emotions passing through his eyes. Surprise, confusion, and then something that looked like hope. Are you sure? Absolutely. Ryan came closer, placing his hands gently on her arms. Emily, I'm so sorry for everything, for having doubted you, for not having protected you better, for having let these women almost succeed in destroying us. Ryan, let me finish, please. He took a deep breath. When I discovered the truth about what they did, I realized how much of an idiot I was. You saved my life not once, but twice. First on that road, then when you brought light and purpose to my empty existence, and I repaid you by doubting you at the first sign of trouble. Emily felt tears in her eyes. You were being manipulated. It's not your fault. Yes, it is, because deep in my heart I knew you were different. I knew you were special, that you were real, but I let fear and insecurity speak louder than trust. The police arrived at that moment, and the next few minutes were a whirlwind of statements, arrests, and legal procedures. Sophia and Victoria were taken away in handcuffs, still shouting protests and threats. When they finally were alone in the empty corridor, Ryan took Emily's hands. Emily Parker, will you marry me? Emily blinked, surprised. What? It's not just because of the baby. Although I'm incredibly happy about that news, it's because I love you. I love your strength, your courage, your integrity. I love how you challenge me, how you make me want to be a better man. Ryan knelt right there on the marble corridor. I love how you saved my life and then saved my soul. Marry me, not because I owe you something, but because I can't imagine my life without you. Emily looked at the man kneeling before her, this powerful and successful man who was humbling himself in an empty office corridor, asking not just for her love, but for her trust in a future together. Ryan, stand up. He stood, expectation and fear mixed in his eyes. Are you sure? Sure that you can handle the differences between our worlds, the malicious comments, the people who will always say, I'm an opportunist, the fact that our child will grow up navigating between two completely different universes. I'm sure that I want to face all of that by your side. I'm sure that our love is stronger than any prejudice or difficulty. Ryan touched her face gently. And I'm sure that our child will grow up knowing both the humility and strength that you inherited from your mother, and the privileges and responsibilities of my world. They will be complete. Asterisk. Emily felt the last resistances melting away. And my mother? Will she be part of our life? Your mother will be the most loved and respected grandmother this child could have. And I intend to spend the rest of my life compensating Maggie for all the years of struggle she faced alone. Asterisk. Emily smiled through the tears. Then yes, Ryan Mitchell, I accept your proposal to marry you. Asterisk. Ryan wrapped her in his arms and kissed her right there, in the corridor where everything had begun and where now everything was truly beginning anew. Asterisk. 6 months later, Emily was standing in front of the mirror in the bedroom she shared with Ryan in his mansion in Lake Forest. Her belly already clearly showed the pregnancy, and the wedding dress had been adjusted 3 times to accommodate the changes in her body. "You look beautiful, daughter," said Maggie, entering the room to help with the final details. Emily's mother had moved to a comfortable house in the same neighborhood, maintaining her independence, but staying close to her daughter and future grandson. "Are you nervous?" asked Maggie, arranging Emily's veil. "A little, but it's a good nervous. It's anticipation." Asterisk. The wedding would be in the garden of the house, an intimate ceremony with only close family and a few friends. Emily had insisted on something simple, and Ryan agreed. After everything they had been through, they wanted to celebrate their love in an authentic way, away from the spotlight and social conventions. "Emily," said Maggie, taking her daughter's hands, "I want to ask your forgiveness." "For what, Mum?" "For having tried to teach you to be afraid of love, for having let my own pain influence your dreams. You proved that there are good men in the world, men capable of truly loving." Asterisk. Emily hugged her mother. "You taught me to be strong, Mom, and it was that strength that allowed me to fight for the love I deserved." Asterisk. When the time came, Emily descended. The marble stairs of the mansion crossed the fragrant garden where Ryan was waiting for her at the improvised altar. He wore a light grey suit and had tears in his eyes when he saw her walking toward him. Asterisk. The ceremony was simple but moving. When it came time for the vows, Ryan spoke first. "Emily, 2 years ago, you saved my life on a dark road. Today, you save my soul in a garden illuminated by the sun. I promise to love you not as a debt to be paid, but as a gift to be celebrated every day. I promise to protect you and our family, not because I am stronger, but because together we are invincible." Asterisk. Emily took a deep breath before speaking. "Ryan, I learned that true love isn't about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone perfect for you. You are my match, my equal, my complement. I promise to challenge you when you need to be challenged, to support you when you need support, and to love you unconditionally in all the moments between these two extremes." Asterisk. When they kissed as husband and wife, Emily felt that she was finally complete. Not because she had found a man to define her, but because she had found a partner to share the life she had built herself. Asterisk. The party was small but joyful. Maggie danced with Ryan, whispering something in his ear that made him laugh and hug her tighter. The few friends and family present celebrated not just a wedding, but the triumph of truth over lies, of love over manipulation. Asterisk. When night fell, and the guests left, Ryan and Emily remained alone in the garden, dancing softly to the low music coming from the discreet sound system. "What are you thinking about?" asked Ryan, caressing her back. "About how strange life is. If I hadn't passed by that road that night, we would have met some other way, I'm sure of it." "How can you be so sure?" Asterisk. Ryan smiled. "Because people like us, who know the value of courage and integrity, always end up meeting, one way or another." Asterisk. Emily placed her hand on her belly, where their son was growing strong and healthy. "And about our baby? Are you afraid of anything?" "I'm afraid of not being a good father, of not knowing how to balance privilege with humility, how to teach responsibility without taking away innocence. We'll learn together, I with your help to provide opportunities I never had, you with my help to teach values that money can't buy." Asterisk. Ryan gently spun her, and when she returned to his arms, he was smiling. "You know what the most incredible part of all this is?" "What?" It's that our story isn't about a happy ending. It's about a happy beginning, about building a life based on truth, respect, and genuine love. Emily looked around, the garden illuminated by soft lights, the elegant mansion that was now her home, but mainly the man in her arms who had chosen to love her not for what she represented to him, but for who she was in herself. Ryan? Yes? I love you. Not out of gratitude, not for security, not for convenience. I love you because you see the best in me and challenge me to be even better. And I love you because you taught me that true love isn't about deserving someone, but about choosing someone every day. They continued dancing under the stars, two survivors who had found in each other not just a romantic partner, but an accomplice for life, someone with whom they could build something lasting and real. A few months later, when their son was born, a healthy boy with his father's green eyes and his mother's determination, Emily fully understood what victory meant. It wasn't about defeating Sophia and Victoria, who had been convicted and were serving sentences for their crimes. It wasn't about winning Ryan or his world. Victory was about having remained true to herself throughout the entire storm, about having fought for the truth even when it seemed impossible, about having chosen love even when she had every reason to choose fear. Holding her son in her arms, with Ryan by her side and Maggie smiling proudly nearby, Emily knew that her story had become exactly what it should be. Not a fairy tale about a poor girl who became rich, but a real story about two people who chose to build something true together, despite all the difficulties of the world. And when her son grew up, she would tell him not about how she found a prince, but about how two courageous people decided that love is worth more than pride, truth is worth more than convenience, and that sometimes, just sometimes, when you have enough courage to save someone, you end up saving yourself too. The end wasn't perfect because perfect endings don't exist, but it was true, it was theirs, and it was the beginning of everything that really mattered.